Thank you for sticking around and bearing with us with our few technical issues, getting some sound. I hope you enjoyed both of the film offerings tonight. I know myself, I've really enjoyed them. I've watched them a couple of times. I'll watch them at least a couple more times. But we're going to get into it. We plan to be just over half an hour-ish with this section, and there will be a chance for yourselves to, as audience, to comment, give your feedback, your reflections, if you have any questions, or perhaps you want to share a few words or a poem or whatever. So that's also going to be coming up after our discussion. But without any more time wasting and waffling from me, I'd like to go around and just have our panelists tonight introduce themselves. And I just have a sort of provocation, a question for you. Introduce yourself and say whatever you want to say, but also how does dance help you to be in the world? So let's go straight away with you, Zab. Welcome. I've been doing it.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, that's nice. Everybody's clapping.
Yes, we would love to start with you. We'd love to hear from you.
Okay, so how dance? Well, if you saw the movie, I guess the answer is there in the documentary. I mean, I don't want to talk over it. It would be too much. But usually when people ask me, are you a philosopher? Are you a professor? Are you a writer? Are you a composer? What do you want to be called by? And usually I answer a dancer. So for me, that says it all, is that everything I understand as being not only my life, but how life is led on this planet revolves around the ability that humans have to dance. And everything I do, whether it's in philosophy, reflect on our situation in the world, when I teach dance, everything is about this ability to see beyond and move beyond.
Great, thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
And so let's go to one of our people who are here live. Would you like to introduce yourself and also kind of respond to that question?
Hello, Zab. It's an incredibly beautiful film. I was deeply moved, and there's more I can probably say, but I just wanted to honor that first and foremost. So thank you for the film you created.
Thank you.
My name is Muti Musafiri, also known as Motivation Activations for the Nation, here to give you them light codes and electrification.
Love it.
I am the co-director of Negus, the co-choreographer, and the main production house for the development of that film. We were commissioned by Sadler's Wells, if anyone knows Sadler's Wells in the UK, at a time when there was a lot of controversy whether they were supporting Black artists enough. And we curated a full takeover of the wild card, and Alistair came to us afterwards, after we brought all the dunduns and the djembes, and we created this incredible master of ceremony and brought people into the circle. Alistair came to me in the toilet afterwards and said, I don't know what that was, but it was bloody incredible. So I thought to myself, we're on the right track. Lo and behold, a couple bits afterwards, we asked Alistair for a bit of money to make a film. We asked for 20K, and he was like, we can give you 10K. We're like, okay, we'll make it. And we made it anyway. The genesis of Negus originates from the Ethiopian derivative of the word, representing the bestowing of the regal and the royal and returning back to that birthright that was given to us from our ancestry. And we wanted to create a crowning piece of film work that remembered the ancient roots of what we've come from, but also propelled that futuristic, Afro-futuristic energy into our future. So we were able to work with myself and Akeim, Toussaint Buck, and also Solomon the Wizard with that deep bellow of a voice that trembled every cell in your body. And we held an incredible process that really was at a time when we were remembering the power that we have within us to create change and echo that in the world. It was exactly the time when Kendrick Lamar dropped his album, so it was bumping in rehearsals. And we were deeply moved and spirited, and Solomon and also Akeim are both fathers, so we invited both their children to be present in the space. And we found it really important for us to create a full melanated team for the production. so that it really originated from us and what we were offering back. And myself, how dance allows me to relate to the world is, and in my being, is like the development of my nature, the development of my language in its becoming, and the technology that I have been given and inherited through my ancestry as a way to actualize that spark and that cellular remembrance. And when I feel the channel, the same way you look at the trees when the wind is moving through them, or the same way you see the river moving with the current, you feel that same wave, that same connection to that nature. And when it comes and speaks through you, you allow it to speak through you and teach you another notion of your own voice.
Mm-hmm.
So that is my relationship with dance. And thank you. Sure.
Thank you very much. So over to you, Philip, the director of the film, the documentary that we saw, and yeah, the same kind of introduction and question to yourself about, you know, how dance helps you exist in the world, but also your kind of motivation and inspiration in creating such a needed and, you know, amazing piece of archive for us, really, as dance artists and community.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much. And hello from Montreal. My name is Philip Szporer, and I'm the co-director and the co-producer of this documentary, Maboungou Being in the World. And I'll answer your second question first. I think one of the great motivations that Marlene, Millar, and I had when we were creating this documentary was to bring to life this, what we consider to be someone who is essential to the dance community, not only here in Canada, but someone who connects in a worldwide capacity as well. I mean, what Zab has to say and her philosophy and the way literally she moves through the world, her ideas, the understanding of her place in not only this society, but in a global sense as well, is something that we were drawn to, something that we look for in working with someone. And again, I'll just say this, it took us 8 years to create this film, is someone that we want to be in this relationship with over this longer period of time. So I'll just stop there in terms of the motivation of the whys, but what dance does, I think, how dance moves us into the world is, in many ways, because it is full of creativity, it's full of experimentation, it's all about expression. I think dance can be, depending on where you are and your own background, it can be precise, it can be methodical, it can be informative, but it's also, in many ways, it draws people into this idea of symbiosis. It allows people to delve into the unconventional. It allows people to grow larger than themselves. Even if movements are complex, people can be brought into that universe. And I think that's really an important part of what dance is all about. It's all about, you know, if you look at it from, and I've been thinking a lot about this kind of the connection between science and creativity, and this notion that, you know, you can work with hypothesis, you can work with prediction, you can experiment, and all of this is part of creation and creative process. And of course, then it's thrown into the audience and how all of this influences the people who are viewing the art, and in this case, perhaps the documentary, and how it then moves them into the world. That's part of what this is all about as well.
Brilliant, thank you. Over to you, Rubber. A bit about yourself, your background, and how dance helps you to exist and perceive the world.
Hi. Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
I'm honored to be in company of esteemed artists and this queen of dance. Yeah, I'm so inspired by what I've seen tonight. You showed me that there is a way to keep going with what you have in your visions, your dream, yeah, and you can achieve it, yeah. To put it in a short way. Yeah, I'm known as Rubber, and I actually originate from Bristol, Jamaica, Bristol. And I've got an interesting life really, because I kind of like grew up in what you call low socio-economic area in the ghetto. And yes, I kind of like by pure chance got involved in dance. Yeah. Someone said to me, come and try some African dance rehearsals. And I swore at them and told them to go away because I did not understand the form. I thought it was just a lot of, you could be, sometimes you could be in this country and ashamed of your own culture because you don't understand. Yeah. And so when everybody's teasing it, you tease it as well, and say, oh yeah, yeah. Anyway, I got involved, and the first thing that turned me to love this dance was the fact that when the gentleman done a particular movement and I was inspired by it, and I said, how did you do that? And he said, the drum told me. I goes, what, the drum told you to do that? So that was just a little trickle, and then that ended up into kind of like a possession. I had to find out how many ways does this drum talk to you. So, cut a long story short, because yeah, it's a very long journey. Yeah. Within a few years, we're the best dance company within England, in the UK, African dance company, with a company called Akeim Arts. We actually changed the way to look at African dance. Yeah. It was a group of just excited youngsters. Yeah. 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 And we just kind of like naturally gelled. Yeah. And the way we expressed it with the energy inspired a lot of other groups up and down the country. A lot of people don't know this, but Akeim was probably the very first African dance group that created opportunities for a lot more groups to be performed up and down the country. We even used to visit each group and teach them and inspire them until the funding was cut for that. And basically all these fringe groups were cut, and the governing body focused on one particular group that represent the whole of England. That was the Judo Pan-African Dance Ensemble. Here the director was had the vision of keeping traditional dance, yeah, alive in all its traditions, yeah, and presenting that in what do you call it, professional touring, yeah, in England and around the world, basically, or in other places of the world. So that was where I got this base around traditional dance, and I was very fortunate because to be involved with this can go on for a long time, so I bet kind of like I was very fortunate to be taught for a long period of time by master dancers. Being in a situation where a lot of dancers dream of this, from 10 to 6 every day, you're just dancing and learning dance, yeah, from this continent. Every year you're learning dances from masters from Africa, yeah. And I made up my mind a long time ago, yeah, that this is how I want to be. Yeah, I want to share it's like the best way I've ever explained it is like I found a box of treasure, and nobody really realized how much is in this. I want to share this gift with people, but they don't really know, about it. And so I need to make them aware, something like that. So because it's as Zab say, as everybody know that it's good for every aspect of your being, yeah, and for bringing people together and so forth. So anyway, yeah, that's my world explained, really, yeah. Yeah.
Well, Robert, we are going to have to, and I've said it before, we need a documentary about yourself. We need to crowdfund and get that money, the everything that we need, the resources to get your story, just like we've seen.
This lady has inspired me. This lady has inspired me. I've got ideas, I've got visions, and I want to talk to you, my lady. Yeah, yeah. I want to talk to you, my lady. I hope to meet you one day to share with you exactly how we can take this dance forward. I love what you do. I just love what you do. What you've done, you create the perfect balance. Yeah, you've used the techniques of staying low and grounded and coming from the ground, but putting the lines in at the same time. So you balance the contemporary and what. From 1986, I said to a pupil in my class, Francis Angol. Yeah, I said, you're doing contemporary dance. You know what you can do with this? You can use the drum with it, because the drum can talk to you. Yeah, absolutely. And tell you how to execute your contemporary. I told him this in 1986 when he came to my class. Yes. And Fume. And Fume used to come to my class as part of her studies. So I am kind of like got something to offer and share. Yeah. And I would like to kind of like be more in that arena now at my age. Yeah. Yeah. To take it further. I've got to, I don't know if I should say it, but I'm going to say it. Yeah. What you've done, you've just showed me how the techniques of African dance supposed to be shared with students. Yeah. And there should be a written form, yeah, of it, diagram, bent knees, such and such, why you just showed us all these things I am working on. That's why I want to meet you. And
can we allow Zab a chance to respond, perhaps, to
please
some of the things that...
Sorry, I just tend to kind of like carry on. Yeah.
Unfortunately, we are a little short of time tonight.
Well, I understand his enthusiasm, because this represents not only a quest, but something that we now more than ever need to develop, more than ever, actually. Because I've heard other people in Africa saying that everybody in the continent should learn about this Loketo principle and all of that. So yes, I'm writing a second book. I wrote the first one, was in French, that's in French, Heya Dance. I'm writing the second on request, upon request, because I'm so busy and people said, well, you have to write that second book, you have to do it. I understand why you're right, we should talk about it. And it is something that is so fundamental, because it has the capacity to really, how would I say, really assume our marching in this world. We have been doing it for centuries. We have to fully assume what we have given to the world. But we're not assuming it. We don't have all the means to fully assume that posture of giving and receiving. And it's all over the place, though. It's all over the place. The sources, the African sources of movement and rhythms has been really giving to the world. But the individual student, the one who goes to university, the one who's being educated, our children at home, do not realize that. So we have not reached this point where we link dance and education, full training of a human being, the decent training of a human being. Drum should be put back in its place. It should be at the center of being a human with a mind and a body that are connected and can now look at this world as being something that they can really travel through and project themselves, because the tradition is futuristic. Tradition has the means to project us. It travels through time. The drum goes through time. It has this capacity. So we have the visions for something that's not there, but is already there at the same time. That's what rhythm is about. So yes, we will meet. Once we see one another, there'll be another time. There'll be another time. So yes, we will meet and we will discuss all of that. But this is now. This is now. It should happen now. Yes.
And it does sort of feel like that sense of urgency You know, we've all
Yes.
been dancers, we've been completely inspired, and we said, you know, backstage, we've been kicked up the arse a bit by watching that documentary. Excuse my language, because it is a quest. And we're looking at our communities, we're looking at destruction, the sense of being lost identity, all of the tragedies that are going on at the moment. And we need this other way that we've lost. And also, a quote from the film, this idea of the dance and drum circle being the first democracy. I sort of want to open that up to discussion, perhaps with you, Muti. How do you feel about that as the sort of first, the power of dance, the power of music, and how it kind of needs to be brought back to all communities, but particularly, you know, the melanated communities, the African heritage communities, in terms of regaining, a bit like in the Negus film, regaining these things that were perhaps our birthright, but we've kind of distorted, confused, lost, marginalized along the way.
So I'm going to link a bit of where you left it off into this, right? Because from my base experience, from migrating, being a son of an asylum seeker from Burundi, Rwanda, who has genocide in his blood and has migrated to Europe to discover a new way, that meets a South Korean woman who's adopted by Belgians, who had no place in Europe, and their literal holding hands was a form of activism in any public space. And the positive memories I have from their earliest days was them saying, I went to see Fela Kuti, I went to see Boma. The purity of music being that transporting vehicle that allows them to connect back to their freedom inside these colonial existing societies. And then to be able to move to London and myself be yearning for this sense of tribe, of this sense of community, and falling into processes of gang warfare and being in the camaraderie of masculinity, but not positively channeled in a way, and simultaneously being this like talented young boy who loved singing, dancing, and acting, and all of these things. And my mom, I remember, put me up. I was doing a little circus, and my mom put me up for this project. She was like, "Oh, Dance Umbrella's doing this project, 120 kids at the Royal Albert Hall. And like, it's going to be over the summer. Do you want to do it?" And I was like, I don't know. Like, I want to hang out with my friends. She was like, "No, I'm going to sign you up for it." And the moment she saw me perform at Royal Albert Hall, she said, "Muti, you have a future in this. If you want to do this, you must get your technique." And instantly after that moment, she signed me up to audition for Lab and Cat, in which I remember I was so like enthusiastic and excited about everything that was happening. And they were like seeing me approach some of the tasks, and they were like, "This guy's really creative, but he's a bit uncoordinated. I think he's just really excited." And then I remember my teacher looking at me and said, you had the smile that was shining inside of you that said, this is part of who you are. And through that experience of being able to like actually have that resistance with technique, which was like adopting a new way of physicality from being like the bardo of the youth culture of being like, no, I have to hold myself this way, the hip hop energy and this, and pronouncing myself in a space, to then realizing after about 2 years, deconstructing the fact that ballet was actually a science of geometrically balancing part of your body and a mechanical understanding of harmony in your body. And if you understand that, you can actually realign parts of your body through turning and through moving through space. And then I realized, oh, actually, maybe I will wear a jockstrap now. But like, I was resisting it for about 2 years. And then when I started doing that, I really started pronouncing the form in another sort of way and realizing the pure elegance that was inside of me. Fast forward it 10 years now, the really actualization of returning to the roots of drums and movement, being that marriage, being that original word that in some cultures in Africa that is the same word. I carried that as my spirituality to the point where when I go to any of my events, if I'm curating a space at a festival, or even if I'm doing men's work, I'm initiating brothers, sisters, uncles, daughters, all of it all together to return back to that base principle of the circle, the rhythm, the chant, the voice, the expression, and one person going into the center. And they will still go through that same process that you ask a 3-year-old to a 70-year-old. They have the moment they have to let go, they have to de-armor and become truly in that moment and allow themselves to be the totality of who they are. And that is one of the most surrendering but most profoundly powerful moments any human can take to show up for themselves and their ancestors in that moment. And now it's become a principle that I bring into any transformational space, and it's allowed me to even go into some of these hood environments and make rhythms with them and make interchanges and ask them to go into the center and then do little dances. And you see that glimmer of light, which is like they're returning, they're remembering something inside of themselves beyond what was told to them. So it's been a deep remembrance and it's a principle for deep transformation, transportation. So that's it.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Brilliant. I'm going to come over to you now.
Yes.
Hope you can hear me. Yes, you can. Any other kind of things you want to say about making the film? Is dance and creating film around dance something that you do often?
Yes.
Is that your medium? So can you tell us about maybe what you've done before, what you may have coming up?
Sure. So one of the things that I think is important, our company is called Mouvement Perpétuel. So that's perpetual movement. Let's just throw it into that as a quick translation. And we do focus almost all of our productions on dance. Art films, documentaries, installations, they all weave in and out of dance. And so that's been the preoccupation of our company for over 25 years now. We've been in existence, making work. But one of the key foundational aspects of what we do, and I say we, myself and Marlene Millar, back in the late 90s, we were invited to do a fellowship at UCLA at the Center for Intercultural Performance. And it was in dance media, so working with cameras and experimenting, but it was in the Center for Intercultural Performance, was in a department called the Department of World Arts and Culture. It was a dance department, but they called it the Department of World Arts and Culture. And that was transformational in terms of the vision, how I began to think not only about movement. I'd been a dancer, I'd been a critic, and I still am. I've been a teacher, et cetera, but that foundational approach that we are in a global world. We are all connected in any number of ways. It's up to everyone, however you find it, to open those doors, to create those links, to build those conversations, to allow for that kind of information to travel freely. And in the medium of film, it's a wonderful way to not only capture images, but propel images into the world. And again, Zab talks about past, present, and future. Dance and film connect in beautiful ways. And that people all over the world, potentially at least, can see this film and understand something about Zab's philosophy and Zab's way of bringing that intelligence, that generational intelligence, that historical understanding of movement to the fore. This is what it's all about. So one of the important things also, I'm just going to throw in, as you saw in the film, there are three important pillars to the documentary. We always work with structure when you're creating a documentary, and things change, and you never know what will ultimately end up in the film. But we were presented by Zab. You always ask the question of people. You were talking about the archive before, and we always ask, oh, well, what kind of photographs do you have? What kind of writings do you have, et cetera, et cetera. And she presented us with three photos. And those three photos posed at first a question mark. Well, how do we tell her story with three photos? And those three photos existed because her father was a revolutionary and had to flee the country. And you take what you get, what you can put in your bag or on your back, right? And so we were faced with the question of how do we tell that story? How do we tell her background, of which there is no documentation? So we worked strongly with Funmi Adewale-Elliott in building three stories that, as we always like to say, are close to Zab's story, but they're not exactly Zab's story, because only Zab can tell her story. So those are foundational elements in which we worked with a lot of archival footage that we found online and otherwise to create those essential images that propel the narrative of the story forward.
Yeah, an amazing documentary. Yeah,
it's interesting what you said about my story being not being my story, because that makes me think, of course, of the posture I took of not looking at this documentary. I haven't seen it. You guys have seen it, but I haven't, and I will not so far. And people have asked me why. And to move into the world, you need a distance. You have to learn how to move and be in a distance of things in order to create space, and new space all the time. And so that for me is very important. And I don't need to see something that's already about me. And that's also the idea I have about rhythm. Rhythm keeps moving and creating time. And while it's going back, it's going also forward, calling constantly for a change of space and your ability to maintain, to sustain the rhythm. So, as I say, it's not about repeating, it's beginning again all the time. So the idea of repetition was never satisfactory for me. As a professor, as a practitioner of dance or any other, repetition does not really exist in nature. There's only beginning again, process constantly, start all over again. It's constantly moving, and that's what the drum does. And that's why it's so creative. What people, ethnologists during colonial times were saying, gee, they keep doing the same rhythm, they repeat, they dance on the same, for them, they could not see the complexity and the creative process in the moment of the drum. And the drum creates your life in the moment that it is being lived. And this is why I cannot look at myself on the screen living. I still need to maintain that distance as much as I can. I may maybe see it later on, but I want to maintain this. And it's very important. So listening to what people say, though, about the movie, now I get into a new space for me. For me, this space is new. It allows me to move further because I haven't seen it. I am not, taken by images of myself in that movie. I'm in conversation with you, and I'm able to see now the true exchange of our lives. And that is why. So this is all about the dance, it's all about a dance.
But just another amazing line from the film that I loved, a quote from yourself, Zab, is that the linear procedure is missing time. And I think that's something to really ponder on, but it's so relevant for how we're sort of on these different systems of living. So beyond the rhythm and the rhythm of life or just structures day to day. But yeah, the linear procedure is missing time. And now, please respond to that.
I forgot I said that.
You didn't know it was in there.
That's why I like it, because I'm forced to reflect again on what I have said. And now this is another moment, of reflection for that. But that's pretty nice. Okay, I enjoy that. Yeah. The linear, it's definitely missing time. Yeah, because it is incapable of really capturing the time. It's fixing it. It's fixing the time, and you cannot. And I'm sure all these people in quantum physics, which I have experienced, the people in quantum physics actually love me. Each time they say, Zab, you should come and do conferences with us, because whatever you talk about makes a lot of sense for us. But I've been thinking about that for years. It was obvious to me, practicing with the drum, hearing the breath of time in me and outside, literally. And I know that linear thinking, linear procedures, any linear procedures is trying to fix something that cannot be fixed. So we're dealing with the limitation of a certain rational way of us human beings to deal with things. So rationality has its own purpose as rationality, but we should always remember that it has its limitations. And this is where the drum the rhythms, and I like to insist that it's plural, it's not singular, it's about rhythms, not rhythm, but rhythms. There's a multiplicity of rhythms that interconnect all the time at the very moment while we're talking. And this is what I call intelligence. Intelligence for me is there. It's been there for the ancestral time. It is the voice that has connected us to the universe. This is the voice. This is the sound of it. And this is what the drum deals with. So the drum, of course, there's many types of drums, many ways of playing the drum. Some drum is about what I call the high tradition. Other playing the drum is more like, okay, let's enjoy ourselves. But enjoyment, as I said, is always related to something more complex. From what I know of African culture, beware of whatever you see as being enjoyment. Enjoyment is always linked to something much deeper. And I like to say to my students that African people do not dance to amuse themselves. And I will repeat it, and I will repeat it anywhere, because it goes against the whole view of what the people, have in mind about African people dancing under the sun, And we're not amusing ourselves. We are testing our lives. We're not amusing ourselves. Amen. We constantly test our capacity to live in the moment, at the moment it's being lived. And that's what we do when we dance. That's how dance has been sort of, given to us. That's how we understand it. Before we're 1 year old, in the mother's belly, like my own son, who's a drummer, we experience that, this ability to get in touch with a life that we carry, but we do not possess as being our own. This is a life that travels through us and keeps going. It's a genealogy of time and life, of life and time.
Before we head for some final reflections, unfortunately, because we are pretty much out of time, we would love to go on longer, sure all of us would. I just want to open it out to the audience and to ask anyone if they have a comment, a reflection, perhaps a question, a response, anything, any thoughts, feelings. Maybe we could take 2 or 3.
I'm just going to be terribly sycophantic and say Zab is my new heroine completely. 100%.
I hope you can hear this on Zoom.
Yes.
Zab is her new heroine, 100%.
Okay, now I heard.
Now you know. I'm going to go to the lady at the back.
I thought it was very inspirational, especially a lot of the different lines. But one that I really struck me was that in difficult times and in hard times that we're in trouble and painful times, that art and dance and creation, it should be a celebration. That's so important that we don't get like trapped, as you say, in linear time and stuck with all these things that people want to oppress us with. And then I had some words came, which was celebration is a two-way conversation.
Celebration is a two-way conversation, in case you didn't hear that on Zoom. So the essence of celebrating, dance is celebration throughout all of the strife and pain and etc. that some people are going through, society's going through. Any other? I know, Rachel, you wanted to tell us about something.
Yes, thanks and praise. Zab, I used to come to London to your master classes back in the 90s.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
Oh.
Absolutely. I was enthralled. I loved your teaching, and watching this film tonight has re-inspired me. And some of the things that you said really resonate with me, the other way around. And watching your grandson playing the drum. I have a grandson, 2.5, and he does exactly that. He plays a drum and tells me and his mum to dance for him.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Final reflections, Robert.
Yeah, I'm going back to what Zab was saying. The drum and the rhythm is so important. Yes. and it creates that space, that freedom space that one needs to feel. I started from a safe place. I knew that drum told me what to do. Yeah. So I just continued teaching. But when it came to kind of like doing freestyle, I was a bit shy.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to stay in my comfort zone. Yeah. Yeah. And that's because it's traditional African dance and it's at a set way about it. Don't get me wrong, there's still freedom inside it. There's still a lot inside it. But when it came to kind of like freedom and expressing the movement, as you're hearing the drum, you're expressing because you know the rhythm in your body, because you got polyrhythm and you got cross rhythm inside your body. That's why I admire you, because you've taken it where past where I can take it. Yeah, you've taken it where you've created your own forms, where your own students now can do that. Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
My way of being is about teaching the tradition so that students can learn those traditions so they can now do what you do with it. Yeah, because there needs to be a base still. There still needs to be a base of the tradition, because that's where it comes from in Europe here in the West. Yeah. It's good to be creative, and I love how you create, but you created your own traditional styles based with the line as well, but you're using the drum. So you're making the drum talk to you and create the rhythm as you're hearing the drum. Yeah, but you're also talking to the drum, so your body can tell the drum what to do too. Yeah. So it's a vice versa conversation, and I love the way you've taken it to that level, because I've stayed in my safe zone. Yeah. I'm not a contemporary trained dancer. I'm more a reggae dancer, in the party and all them things. Yeah. So
Yes,
that's
I
what
understand.
contemporary and ballet is about. It's about kind of like that kind of line and expression. I don't come from that area, which makes me look at it differently from a more Caribbean form, maybe. Yeah. So I that's what I want to kind of like point on what you have done is taking it to another level, and students now know your technique and know what you're doing, and now they can pass that on. It's all about passing it on. For me, it's about passing on the tradition, the traditional style, set as it is. But there's a lot of freedom. There's a lot of questions. You talk about the one. You talk about the one. Lord of mercy. I was just talking about it last week. Somebody saying, "Where is the one?" Yeah.
Yes.
But you just express what the drum tells you, or express what your body, and it's still within the set form. But the way you've taken it into the Western stage and dealt with it, I really admire. Yeah.
Yeah, it was really, it was fundamental for me to do this, because being in that circle of dance at a young age, I perceived a dance that to me showed me the world. And I was very young. I didn't understand. I just perceived it. I perceived in that circle of dance the whole world. So I've always been convinced that dance was able to meet the world. And therefore, I had to be able to, and I don't say create, because it's been there before me. It's been practiced by all humans that look at all that I'm showing. I say I formulated something that for me, obviously, was showing the fundamentals of what the drum was addressing. And therefore, teaching it as such, instead of saying, I'm going to teach you Congolese dance, it became, I'm going to teach you dance. I'm going to teach you how to move to the drum. And the drum is all over the place in this world. Actually, the drum is universal. It's all over the place. And unfortunately, the Western countries have taken it away. They're the ones. But if you look at Asia, all South America, everywhere, the indigenous people in Canada, they have the drums. Everybody has the drums. We're not at all particular, exotic in that sense. Far from it. We're global. We're completely global in this world with the drum. And how come, in spite of colonialism that has done everything to take away the drum, they did not succeed? Because in those churches in Africa now, the drum is there. They were not able to cancel the drum, because the drum obviously crosses time up The drum is there to attest for her human presence on this planet. I don't know how long we're going to remain there, but the drum is there to attest. It is the voice of humanity. It's the voice of humanity, the drum.
It's a healer.
Yes.
The vibration from the drum is healing you.
Exactly.
You have the drums that created for joy, 4-bar beat, ba, 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 ba. Then you have the
Yes.
ka, 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 ka.
That's right.
Yeah, so the rhythm
places us.
hits you. Yeah.
That's it. So this is the alignment, and this is the alignment that we get on this planet. We get aligned with the drum. And once you get aligned, you actually can do all sorts of things. The drum will pay attention. The drum never commands or orders, except when you're in initiation, special ritual, it comes with specific things, which is initiation. But otherwise, the drum is a voice that you have to answer. You have to learn to converse. It does not command, it guides. It is guiding you. It is sending you the message. It is calling. It is not commanding.
Thank you so much. I'm so sorry, but we're losing Philip now.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
We really could, continue because it's been such a rich conversation. I know you really want to come in with something really quickly, and then I'm going to hand over to Baldo to just say a word of thanks and finish the evening. Thank you, everyone, for sticking around for the conversation.
Just before we go, growing up in the UK with contemporary dance, for me, there was never with the modern and the contemporary and the Cunningham a way that felt embraced the full articulation of what we have, the integration of that rhythm and that movement. It was going into Europe into martial arts and flying low and passing through that felt more like a universal way of philosophy through dance. And I felt like now in this kind of current climate, it doesn't feel like my version of that is represented. And when starting my company probably like 5 years ago, now has shifted. And after watching your film has really called me into a point of myself saying I must donate this perspective, this philosophy in which to embrace dance as a vehicle to see the whole world and relate to it, and reminded me deeply of this embodied thinking that came up in the film. And I speak about embodied cognition in which to develop education and allow people to feel aesthetically and to develop in this particular way. But the aspect of the dancer for me has been deeply clouded in the commercial industry as a donating form to say you are a backup, you are this, but you have fight it back in my mind with the spiritual mastery root that it actually commands me forward. And to remind me that is something I'm going to tell my mother about, and I'm going to tell her I'm going to make a next piece, and when I make it, I'm going to send you an invitation because we in my heart. So thank
lovely. You. Yes. Thank you all.
Okay, unfortunately, I'm going to have to go because of childcare. Well,
thank you, everybody, for you and for the record.
Cleo, do you want to take a photo before we go? Okay.
All right. So thank you very much, Cleo, and you all. It's been amazing. And I want to thank also the Cube volunteers, especially David, who did a right step in, and Alice and Mike and the new volunteers and everybody. Also, I want to say that this event was supported by the Cube as well as Society for Dance Research, and I am event secretary for this organization. I mean, we are here also to encourage you to become members if you wish to. And if you become a member, you get this journal, which is called Dance Research, and you can look at it here. You can also look at this other one. I mean, there is a lot of white dance in here, and we are trying also to move things up a bit, shake them up, and also you get access to these events. And also I want to say that we had another event here at the Cube almost 2 years ago. Ruba was there, Cleo was there, Rachel was there, and this was an amazing conversation that started from the documentary on Alvinelli. And you can see a video record of that on the YouTube channel of the Society for Dance Research. And if you happen to be in London on Saturday, there is going to be another choreographic forum on the piece It Begins in Darkness by Seke Chimutengwende. And this debuted, the premiere was here in Bristol at the Mount Without last September. So if you happen to be in Bristol, you're welcome there. And also Mercy, I think, wanted to, in London, yeah. Bristol, London, Saturday. And I want to thank also Katri, the co-chair of the Society Dance Research, who is there, but also I think Mercy of Kauma Arts, which is another organization that really is doing an amazing job. I think she also wanted to say hello, but yeah, she's there.
Yeah, hi everybody. I can't say a lot, but because we're running out of time, but I just wanted to mention that this has been such a powerful conversation. Listening to you all and what you had to say, the filmmaker Philip, Zab, but also I come from Uganda, East Africa, so not far from Rwanda, and I am so amazed at how we managed to put it together. Like Baldo was amazing, because when you have a king or something great coming or going to a place, they don't go alone, they go accompanied. And the film Negus actually accompanied the film Maboungou really, really well. So I'd like to say thank you, because they're all coming from the heart, and they're all coming, they're talking about individual stories. And so we have to tell more stories. So I thank you so much. Rubber, voice of reason, I really like to hear you more. Because you don't always say more. We see you dance and all that, but we never get to kind of hear you talking a lot more. So that would be well. Cleo did really well. I think she's gone now, but I think it is wonderful. And everybody in the room, we can't see you, but it's just amazing.
So you can see.
Thank you so much for coming along, and it's been amazing. Thank you for supporting the film. We're next going to be, I think the last leg of the 2023 is going to be at the place on the 11th of November. So if you're there as well, the screening is going to happen there as well. And that's during Feel the Rhythm production, the festival called Afro Dance Explosion by Caroline Lilly. So thank you so much. This has also been supported by the Canadian High Commission in London, and also the Quebec government offices in London as well. And our partners, Society for Dance Research, Irie Dance Theatre, the Cube, the picture houses where the film started, and and Cube, obviously. Thank you so much for everything. That's all I have to say now. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe shout out for the Cube. Come more to the Cube and volunteer at the Cube. Put up your events at the Cube, because you can do whatever you want here. Huh?
Thank you.
Just before we go,
Thank you, Baldo. Yeah.
of course, thank you about that as well. Yeah, definitely. Just before we go, this today is the beginning of my festival called Legacy 101. There's doing events between Bristol and in London, and we are being supported by Arts Council. the first time. And we are doing a 3-week program with online and in-person events, and it climaxes with Rich Mix Takeover, and I'm curating the whole of Rich Mix. And that was the first I started youth dance as like a 14 to 16-year-old youth company. So it's a kind of full circle moment, and to be able to have this as the kind of opener. We did like an incredible panel discussion today about demystifying Black men's mental health, and then a men's circle, and then to come here was so wholesome to start with this real choreographic forum, and I'm really, really thankful to Baldo for
and to
Cleo as well.
Yeah.
And I'd really love if I could do a little video just shouting out. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I wouldn't as well, Rabba.
Also, can I also say that, Ruba, you also have to advertise to promote your classes? Because maybe people...
Go, Rabba.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I just have this community class on Wednesdays at the New Berlin Studios in St. Wilbur's. And I have...
Okay. To be dance. To be dance, to be great, is to be dance. I have to let go, accept and embrace everything as is, like the drum. The relationship between the dancer and the drummer is an echo, whether they disagree, whether they dislike, whether they reinterpret, whether they disengage from the norm, from the structure that holds you, folds you. We have to recreate in the memory of the Creator. That's our right. That's why when they dance, the movement through sound echoes emanate into being. Rhythm sparks electrolytes for free, invokes energy for healing, evokes the possibility of us to become who we am to be, existing in a way of existing into the world through movement. Dance in Azania, where I'm from, is like air to lungs, an organic addiction. If you say you can't dance, they're like, huh? What, huh? All you have to do is this. Or even if you just want to do this. It's dance. It's an expression of you. A necessity of living life. Rabba says, I wanted to know how many ways this drum can make me move. Zab has me transfixed like I'm in a dancer's dream, a quest. Muti is an evolution evolving through the echo of time. Afro-futuristic, a gift. Its place must be in the center of being. Restore the drum to its rightful place. Dance. It's for our children. Dance, aligning heart, body, and mind. Cleo's deeds tells her story by decolonizing memory through dance. From his story to ours. Of our ancestors. You am motion continua. We dance when we love. We dance when we hurt. We dance when we are oppressed. We dance when we fight. That's how the warriors could survive. We dance when we mourn. We dance ever since we born. We dance as we move. I am an echo like you. Everybody's a dancer. Find and follow your own beat. Trust your own rhythm. It's right here. Fill the spaces in between like a trans-rhythmic time machine. That's what the heart seeks. The body feeds. To be. That's what these dances has taught me. To be is to dance. To dance is to be. like the rhythm to the drum. You've set me free! Where's Robert?
I really appreciate it tonight to be here. I'm one of Robert's students of African dance. I'm also Italian with Eritrean background. I find myself in a difficult position right now because of Brexit, so I had to move back to Italy, and being here means for me an end, but also just like a new chapter. I thought I was going back in time, but this movie taught me that this is evolution. It's not something that I'm doing again. It's not something that is taking me back or is taking me back somewhere where I don't want to go. It's just I'm taking my space. Yeah, I learned this tonight, and it's very powerful. I'm taking my space, and I'm also not back in time because time is not linear. That doesn't make sense. So really important. Thank you so much, Father, for having us. Thank you for organizing this.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Good.
It was really incredible to see the two films together because they both spoke the same message from the heart, which landed into my heart and reminded me of the importance of dance and to just be within the time frame, as Helen was saying, in the non-linear time.
Well, I've just come back from 3 days in Marseille against quarters and racism, and I thought I might fall asleep, but in fact I was really reinvigorated by everything I saw, and got the idea of these, both drums and dance, being universal languages which bring us all together, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah, so that was a real surprise. I didn't know what to expect. I was brought along by some friends, and I didn't know what to expect. I've been drumming with Rubber's African dance group for some time. I'm no master drummer by any means, and I'm Bristolian, and I just found the African dance. And yeah, I've been following it for several years, so to see a video like that put together, just expressing everything that's happening and so much more, was a real eye-opener, a real achievement. So yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
I am just astonished and totally inspired by the both documentary. I think they were so immensely powerful. Everyone should watch them. I personally work with young person doing theater, and I was really, really inspired, and I can't wait to share some of these things. I was thinking about the drum, and the drum is so magic that even kids on the wheelchair can, in our session we use the drum, and they can feel the music. So that's true. It's just reiterating myself the potential, enormous potential of the drum, and just to move our body in this freedom, and everything was really, really great. A fantastic night. Thank you so much. A gift.
Fresh like this.
Yeah, it was both films were hugely inspirational. The first one had a very strong rhythm as well. All of the poems, there was rhyme and half rhyme in every line, and that set a really good rhythm for the whole thing. And the second film was mind-blowingly inspirational. I've been thinking a lot about non-linear time and how we should consolidate instead of always trying to improve and get better and better. And it is about, being more in the moment, and all art forms.
And owning, what she was saying,
assuming and being in direct connection with the moment rather than trying to keep running away from it. It was amazing.
Thank you.
Wow, so I'm not ready to put thoughts in a proper form. I just feel like there's so much to digest, so much that sort of inspired me, so much that I feel that I need to now explore and discover. Just amazing in so many ways, and really warming, and just very hopeful also, It's exciting. So yes, a lot to digest and a lot to explore. But I'm really, really, really happy that was here tonight, actually. Thank you.
It was so powerful and moving to see those movies together and to be a part of such a beautiful experience. And the discussion as well, and to hear Zab talk in depth about the whole feeling and what it means and her whole process and journey, and also to hear my dance teacher, who I've been fortunate and blessed enough to be a part of his dance classes, Rubber, and to feel so grateful that I get to experience that, and it's really affirmed that I really want to continue this journey for the rest of my life. I want to dance for as long as I can. It's such a beautiful healing activity, and just everything, the connection to earth, to nature, to who we are, to express ourselves, to take up space, and to hear the drums and to feel that, the vibration. And it's just to the whole journey of becoming more embodied and empowered in yourself, and to feel connected and rooted. And it's really just inspired so much. So yeah, thank you so much for such a gorgeous event.
Yeah, I really loved tonight. I think probably it's like the best cultural event of the year. I'm not joking. Yeah, no, it's true. I think the level was very high. A lot, like the conversation. Yeah, it was very deep, and it went into a lot of philosophical debates. Yeah, it was very, very interesting to witness. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, seeing the film just made me want to dance, which might sound like the most basic response to the film ever, but I think it's maybe one of the most easy and direct and profound ones.
That's great. Thank you.